So yeah, I can imagine that there were many reasons for tonight's performance. Number one, this was essentially a new team. These players haven't really played many games together. They don't have that chemistry, so I could forgive them to an extent. As well, players want to maintain their fitness. This month in particular is a very congested and very busy period. So in games like this, which are basically free games, this was a non-essential game. We already qualified on top of the group. KRASNODAR had already qualified as well. And literally, we were just there to pass the time. And, for large portions of this game, sadly, it kind of felt like that. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is we've qualified for this group, and essentially tonight didn't really matter. But at the same time, there were some poor performances today. I'm going to discuss that. I'm going to break down how Tino, Anjorin and Billy Gilmour performed in tonight's game too. I'm going to discuss some players that were decent and some players that didn't live up to grades. So you guys, I hope you enjoyed today's match review. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. And without wasting any more time, we have to start by speaking about the lineup. Now, of course, Lampard said in the press conference that both Anjorin and Gilmour were going to start in tonight's game. Maybe this is the perfect time to discuss how each player did. So I'm sure you guys want to hear my thoughts and opinions on them. I'm going to start off by speaking about Tino Anjorin. Now, for me, I felt this was a confident performance. I felt like Anjorin showed a lot of promise as the game was growing on and growing on and growing on, where you could see his confidence was really starting to just, take over throughout his entire game. At the same time, he showed his youthful experience. I do think there were a few times his movement off the ball wasn't too great. I think that due to these reasons, him and Kai didn't have the best understanding, because it did feel like Anjorin was more willing to move into the central areas where he feels more natural and more confident playing in. So, I do understand why maybe his tactical understanding wasn't perfect, but I think one thing that was definitely on show tonight was his technical ability. Now, as I was saying, as the game was going on, you could see him visibly getting more confident, and by doing this, he was willing to take his man on. He was carrying the ball and collecting it in tight areas and tight spaces. He was looking to play 1-2s, giving goals. So near the end, before he got subbed off, I thought that he was pretty influential when it came to our attack. So overall, this was a good performance from Anjorin. He showed what he's about, at the same time also showing areas where he can still improve and become a more complete player. Of course, I want to speak about Billy Gilmour, and the one thing that stood out to me the most in tonight's game was Billy's mentality. Now, this guy picked up here a meniscus injury. Of course, he had knee surgery, and you would think that maybe he might be a bit nervous going for those 50-50s. Maybe his intensity off the ball and defending, might not be at the same levels as it was before the injury. But credit to Gilmour. Throughout the entire game, he was getting straight in the thick of it. No matter the size of the opponent, he did not care. He was willing to fight for the cause, and on top of that, I thought his short passing game and his long passing game were very good. He moved the ball very quickly, and that's what you want to see from a midfield player in that position. Now, in the team today, he did play as a number 8, and a lot of times he was doing the right things. He was dropping deeper to receive the passes from the fullbacks and the defence. At the same time, he was carrying the balls forward, playing balls between the lines and using them little techie skills to just create spaces for passing lanes. So for me, this was another promising performance, and of course, it wasn't perfect, but considering that for both Anjorin and Gilmour, this is like their first proper start today, and in general, this was a good performance from both the young players. So, like Cobham, I think they are going to be needed now, especially during these, heavy congested periods, and with all the injuries that we have right now, it's great to know that we have players from our academy ready to make the step up when we need them. So let me continue on. From this point on, I want to give my thoughts and opinions on the goal scored tonight, starting with FC KRASNODAR, and this was pretty unfortunate. Now, credit to them. I thought their intensity throughout the entire game today was good. They were looking to get a result tonight, and I think that they leave the field tonight feeling proud of themselves and feeling deserved that, yes, this was a deserved point. It was a nice passage of play, and throughout the entire game, they demonstrated why they are a team playing in the UCL this year. Decent performance from them, and their goal came from former Newcastle player Remy Cabella. Again, he looked quite saucy in the field a little bit. I have to admit, I'll give credit to the opponents when I see it. So the fact that our equalizer came literally 4 minutes after conceding, like maybe slightly against the run of play, because I felt like we weren't creating as many efficient attacks, and some of our final balls were really disappointing. But again, The penalty comes. It was a nice bit of play from Tammy Abraham to just sell the little dummy, fool the defender into making the tackle, and then upsets Jorginho with, for me, probably his nicest penalty he's taken for us, probably his best technical penalty for us. It was a perfect one, and that's why his technique, not Bruno Fernandes's. I don't know why the press are trying to really force that. You can see why his technique is so successful. Now, of course, we had opportunities to get goals in this game. I'm looking at you, Tammy Abraham. I'm looking at a few players as well. I'm looking at Kai Havertz as well for, messing up with the final touch when he was through on goal. But for this segment now, I do want to discuss some of the overall performances from the players today, starting with the negative ones first. And for the first player, I'm going to speak about Tammy Abraham. Now, considering we have 3 strikers on form, 3 strikers on fire, you can't afford to waste games. When you get game time, when you get the opportunity, you have to show what you're about. You need to make something happen for the team, and I don't know if Tammy's going to leave tonight feeling like he exactly did that. Now, it's quite obvious that one of the major areas in which he has to really improve upon is his aerial game. Now, I can understand why it's so weak, throughout his striker career. I mean, we've seen him bagging the goals for Bristol City, Aston Villa. Most of these goals weren't scored by his heads. It was down to Tammy's movement inside the box, his finishing with both feet. He prefers the ball on the floor, but obviously I think you have to understand that using your height, especially when you have the height and the strength as well, that can give you new advantages. That can help the team out even more. And we have to remember that Tammy himself is developing, from being exclusively a poacher striker that just focuses on runs inside the box to being someone more involved in the play, someone more involved with the team. It doesn't happen overnight. He is going to need time, but at the same time, when he performs badly like he did tonight, is this an opportunity to let the negative words come out? I'm not too sure, because at the end of the day, we want all our players performing, because this gives us a better chance to get the points we want, to get the trophies and titles we want. So, Tammy, you'll have to come back better in the next game. Some of his overall touches today a bit inconsistent, and I'm just hoping that it will click for him soon. I'm hoping that, playing this role, he's going to show more consistency, because he has demonstrated that he can. But this is another learning experience for a striker that's trying to cut it out at this level. So I have to move on to the second disappointing player today, and I have to say Emerson. Now, this guy is so frustrating. Ridiculously frustrating. Certain games he comes through, he looks good. Other games, it just doesn't happen for him. And one area which I definitely know Lampard was getting very frustrated with him is that final delivery and that final ball. Now, the amount of attacks he ruins. The amount of attacks this guy ruins, with crosses that are going out of play, crosses hitting the first man, crosses going everyone's damn heads. It's a shame that it seems like Emerson never recovered that same form before his serious ACL injury, because he looked like a very exciting player, but considering the level he's at right now compared to Ben Chilwell, I mean, you can't compare. It really is levels. Like, honestly, different levels. And yeah, throughout the game today, I felt like we were lacking on the left-hand side. Emerson wasn't supporting quickly enough to break the play and obviously stretch the opponents. And whenever he did, the final ball was lacking. So he was disappointing tonight. And for the third one, I'd have to say Jorginho as well. Now, I felt like there was a lack of intensity with the passes, and it was no surprise that in the second half, when Lampard brought on Werner, when Lampard brought on Kante, as I keep stressing with Kante, this guy plays two-touch football every time, and you can see the difference in midfield. And with Timo Werner's pace burning down the flanks as well, it injected that intensity we needed, especially when I didn't feel like we were getting that consistently from Jorginho. Now, of course, he made one individual error where, he kind of just lost the ball by himself for no reason, and I don't know. I just think that maybe he's a player suited for a different style of football. But, just to move on to give some of my final thoughts before I end this match review, I do want to speak about Kai Havertz as well. And for me, with Kai today, it felt like he had no players on his wavelength. It felt like Anjorin was trying to play in the same positions as Kai, and that's why I didn't really do much together. And whenever Kai was on the ball, the options around him weren't there. In particular, when he had the ball and he wanted to play a quick pass to someone down the left-hand side, because with Kai, when he passes the ball left, this means that he himself can now move into the box with his trademark late arrivals and, make something happen on goal. We couldn't do that because Emerson wasn't too great today. And, you know, I just felt like it was a bit of a frustrating game for Kai, and it was no surprise that in the end, right before getting subbed off, you know, he misses the opportunity to make it 2-1. I can understand the heavy touch, and you know, we have to remember with Kai that he did have COVID. It is going to take him a few weeks to get back to proper full fitness, but you know, I could see his ideas today. I liked how he was thinking. That was the most important thing for me, and it felt like he didn't have the team around him to really take full advantage of that. Just like we saw versus Sevilla, you know, versus Sevilla when he had Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi making runs and behind, stretching the play. You know, Kai looks very good in that game, and you know, sometimes in football, it's about the chemistry. It's about having the right players playing together, understanding each other, improving the team. And today, you know, it was a bit disappointing that there weren't enough goals in the game. But let's hope that we can get them goals back in the following game this weekend. And you guys, on that note, that was my match review for the game tonight. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Line CV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos.